The best weapon in games. That's a loaded ass question. I mean, skip me. Let's hear you.
I gotta say the Master Sword. How can it not be?
Can't argue with that. That's a classic. Understandable.
Any weapon in Resident Evil. Pick any single one. It's just so good to fire in that game.
See, that's just cheating. You might as well not even answer. Weapon with an N, no S. You know what I mean? That's just cheating. You know, it's whatever. Kyle, you got one?
The crowbar from Half-Life.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay? That is a classic upon a classic.
Well, I can't say too much when I haven't played the game, you know?
Wait, you haven't played Half-Life yet?
No, not yet.
Me neither.
Same here.
Well, that settles it. Let's start with Half-Life for a new season. Start off with a classic.
I mean, I wouldn't mind, but we already agreed on VeggieTales, Larry Boy, and the Bad Apple.
Man, forget about Larry Boy. For now. For now. Let's start off with a bang. Half-Life.
I'm not against the idea, it just depends on these two.
That's fine with me.
Man, I've been waiting so long for Larry Boy though.
Please.
Fine. Okay, sure.
Yes, thank you very much. I promise we'll play that soon, one day. Half-Life it is, though.
On backlog, been gone for way too long. On backlog, got so many games to play, dog. On backlog, Donkey Kong expands my dome. On backlog, me and Carlo been fucking since dawn. On backlog, did you know that Carlo wears thongs? On backlog, I really fucking hate this song. Yeah.
Gordon Freeman in the flesh.
What is up, guys? It is Robert of Gaming With Me, and welcome to Season 4 of Back at the Backlog, the series where we take a look at the games that I recently beat off my backlog. Today's episode is on the game Half-Life. Half-Life is a franchise that I just have no real history with. I own Half-Life 2 and the Orange Box, which includes Half-Life 2 Episodes 1 and 2. These will be episodes one day. Half-Life was released on November 19th, 1998 in the US for PC. It was developed by Valve and published by Sierra Studios. All I know is that the Half-Life franchise is considered to be one of gaming's best, which is always a tricky thing to go into a game knowing it has such a massive praise. It creates a massive expectation, which I never really want to go into any game thinking that way. The original Half-Life sits at a high 96 on Metacritic. What makes it so special? Well, here we are 24 years after its original release. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the story first. You play as Gordon Freeman, a physicist who works for the Black Mesa Research Facility. One day while at work, an experiment goes severely wrong as this anti-mass spectrometer explodes and causes a portal to open up from another dimension, teleporting Gordon to an alien planet for a few seconds at a time before sending him back to the facility. This dimension sees a lot of hostile alien creatures invade the facility. All hell breaks loose and Gordon must hopefully escape the facility safe and sound. I really enjoyed this setup, having Gordon first casually walk the halls of Black Mesa Research Facility, seeing the people just working and greeting you as you pass by. It creates an immersive atmosphere, and it's impressive how lively and real the designs of this massive building seems. Visually, this game looks really good. Just changing this 1998's game's resolution to 4K makes the world nice and crisp. Really impressive environments that they managed to make in 1998. Of course, character model-wise, it's not real looking. Hell, nothing looks real. But for 1998, it's impressive. They just captured this broken down facility perfectly. Although stuff like 4K, widescreen, the character models were not in the retail version back in 1998. This was introduced in the Steam version, and technically the character models were from Gearbox's Half-Life expansion Blue Shift back in 2001. and I can't quite confirm, but it seems that there was also a 30 frames per second cap back in 1998. Now if you know me, you know I don't really play with a mouse and keyboard very often. I just prefer to be lying down with a controller playing on a bigger TV. It's just my preferred method. My first game I finished with a mouse and keyboard was in Season 2, which was The Witcher Enhanced Edition. Now my second game is Half-Life. Honestly, I pretty much had no problem controlling Gordon. I thought I would, but I didn't. Although just moving him around took a bit of getting used to, I never truly ever mastered Gordon because for some reason, he's a bit slippery when walking. He doesn't completely stop, and so sometimes that made platforming a bit of a pain if it's a small area, as he'd likely fall over if I was too close to an edge. However, the movement in general is fast-paced and pretty agile, which I really appreciated. This is a first-person shooter, so yes, you'll be doing a lot of shooting. Shooting is of course great because of the mouse controls. I noticed that they are still pretty lenient, as the marker of your aim will snap towards enemies a bit to help you out with long distance shots, which you'll be doing a lot of. The game is split up into chapters, however it's a completely uninterrupted experience. There's really no cutscenes. All story and mission details are delivered to you during gameplay. Scientists and security officers will talk to Gordon, telling him what they've heard, what Gordon should do, but you don't even need to hear them to progress. Gordon is also a silent protagonist, which is perfectly fine in this game, and if anything, it adds to the immersion without a character commenting on what they're always doing.
Gordon is the greatest character of all time.
That's some high praise.
What, you don't agree?
Well, since I don't see him and he's silent, I can't really say he's the greatest. It could change, you know, but all I'm saying is I could be controlling anybody in this game, you know?
Bro.
I'm sorry.
Bro!
It's a linear game in the sense of hallways, but there are plenty of areas with several paths to take, giving you a sense of freedom on how to approach different rooms. Since you'll eventually have a whole arsenal of weapons to choose from, someone may do this same room in a different way that I'd approach it, since using a shotgun is very different from using up your grenades. You aren't really running and gunning like in Doom. There's more of a strategy on when to use certain weapons. You don't have unlimited ammo. You'll never really find yourself in desperate need for ammo, but if you only stick to using only one gun, then yeah, that won't last very long. I saved all my most powerful weapons for really only very desperate times, which was not often. There's this one awesome weapon called the glue-on gun that shoots out this devastating laser quickly, taking out even the most powerful enemies. However, as quickly as enemies get taken out is as quick as the ammo gets drained. So I really only saved it for a handful of times, but it was a lot of fun using it. It's very much like a proton pack from Ghostbusters. Super cool. Then there's the iconic crowbar. Smacking at everything with a crowbar is just strangely satisfying.
It's the greatest weapon in all of gaming.
Look, it's definitely a favorite of mine now.
Hell yeah.
There's just something so great about going pom 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 tung 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 tung.
Yes! Yes!
In terms of enemies you'll be encountering, there's a pretty wide variety. They're the iconic head crabs, these small creatures who lunge at your head. They're quick and easy to take out, but are also pretty easy to lose some health with if you're not careful when ganged up with a group of them. Alien grunts are these bigger dudes who are armed with weapons that their bullets will curve towards a target, making these guys pretty deadly. You'll even run into bigger enemies a few times that you can't kill with normal ways. Instead, it's essentially a part of a puzzle to find a way to down these larger beasts. Aliens aren't the only things you'll verse in Black Mesa. The military gets involved to kill everything there to cover up all the experiments, including even scientists, and yes, that means Gordon Freeman. They shoot on sight, throw grenades, and even roll in with tanks. One of the coolest human enemies are these women assassins. They are super fast and all black, and the only way to track them down is by listening to their footsteps. It's fantastic. There are many moments where these two entirely different enemy types are combined. Walking into an area where there's already a big shootout going on between the aliens and the military was awesome to see. There you are, just in the middle of this battle with both sides against you. It's a very unique atmosphere. Speaking of atmosphere, Half-Life legit has some of the best atmosphere building in all of gaming. For a large majority of the game, there's not even music. All you hear are Gordon's footsteps, the noise of head crabs, the gunshots going off, the soldiers' radios. It creates a sense of immersion and in many areas, intensity. I loved climbing into a vent with its echoey footsteps, turning on my flashlight only for a headcrab to be right in front of me, ready to leap. I loved walking around areas, hearing radios go off as I start to reload every weapon, getting ready for a potential shootout. While there is music, most of the time there's just not, and the sound effects work to create this intense atmosphere. I love the variety of situations you go through, even if the environments for a decent chunk of the game are similar looking. I really enjoyed this chapter called On a Rail, which is apparently a controversial opinion, which I didn't know until writing this, but hey, I thought it was a cool chapter. It's a much slower paced chapter where you get around on a rail, but you'd hop off at different sections to clear out areas and open up new paths to continue on. It was an interesting chapter and one that changed the pace in a good way. There's another chapter where you start to go outside and it starts to get real intense in terms of shootouts. There's more places where you get shot at, like even in the sky with helicopters, mixing aliens and mines tucked away in the grounds, and you have some pretty deadly areas. There's even one area outside where you call down airstrikes from a map to open up a new area by destroying the area you are in. It's one-off design choices like that that make Half-Life stand out as a really well-designed game. There was one funny time where I just had to laugh at myself. Sometimes I make games just way harder than they need to be. I was trying to get across the room by what seemed like having to platform across. I was just trying to jump from these barrels for like 5 minutes, confused why I could not make it when there was just a lever to pull down to bring a bridge down. Why am I like this? One thing I loved about Half-Life is that you can save at any point in the game. I've noticed this with games that are exclusive to PC. This is a feature that is usually included. I think it's just fantastic and wish the majority of games allowed for this. How often do we put a console on rest mode just so we can continue where we left off next time we hop on? It's just super helpful and it really respects a player's time, which I greatly appreciate. Not only that, but because you can save anywhere, it means you could honestly practice runs in an area. I would genuinely redo sections in an area where I felt I could improve. It was a lot of fun to change up my strategy and take out enemies in a different way than my previous save and see if I could do better. Also, there were times where I got soft locked in certain areas, unfortunately, so not having to go super far back definitely made me overlook some of those issues, which, mind you, that is an issue sometimes. In terms of things like health, they are pretty generous with health kits. You don't regenerate health, it's all about finding that precious health station. I'm now going to talk about the final few chapters just to let you know. Gordon is teleported to the planet Zen to stop the alien invasion once and for all. It's a drastically different area than anything before it. It was something I wasn't expecting, but I thought it was pretty cool. The alien world features all sorts of interesting foreign environments. Also, the music when you first enter Zen stood out to me immediately. Do you hear it? Do you hear it? I recognize that immediately. This part also plays in the greatest show of all time, Courage the Cowardly Dog, the episode King Ramses' Curse.
Return the slab.
What?
Return the slab, or suffer my curse.
What's your offer?
Yes, this episode was 2 years after Half-Life's release, but that's where I heard it first. Just when I thought Half-Life couldn't get any cooler, Curse the Cowardly Dog's best episode's music is in this game? Crazy. First major enemy you verse in Zen is called Gonarch. Apparently Gonarch is the final phase in the life cycle of a head crab. Yes, this big ass thing is a head crab that also births baby head crabs that are so damn tiny, they're tough to even hit. You gotta chase Gonarch around multiple areas and try to avoid it running into you, as a few hits means death. After being stuck in an area with only it and its baby head crabs, you eventually damage it enough until it dies. Then, the real part of Zen begins. Sadly. As cool as Zen can be, it's also the most frustrating by far. There's just an abundance of enemies everywhere in areas that just don't feel suitable for Gordon Freeman. There's a lot of verticality to the level design on Zen, but you can't really run and jump around as he takes some major fall damage. This area would be a lot more fun if there just wasn't fall damage. It seems like the level design is made for that, especially with the alien enemies in the sky, on platforms below you, in front of you. Instead, this area just continues to go on to the point where I just thought it became tedious. You can re-heal in these pod areas, but it's not exactly fun to go back and slowly regenerate health. Go another room deep with a lot more alien enemies in many angles, and then very likely go back to re-heal again. I was ready for it to be over.
That sounds like my home planet. Lots of buildings you gotta jump around in.
Wait. Can you jump high?
At least 10 feet or so. Nothing too crazy.
Damn, that is crazy, man. I mean, humans can't even jump half of that.
Wow, humans can't do too much, huh?
compared to whatever you are, hell no. After a whole lot of enemies and odd design choices was the final boss. A menacing red portal takes you to Nihilianth, this absolutely creepy fetus looking shit thing. It's a really cool and memorable design, but unfortunately I found the fight to be frustrating. It does the biggest sin a boss could do. If you know me, you know what I'm gonna say. It tosses other enemies in the battle. I will say this again and again. Have faith in your boss. Let me verse the boss. Let me have an intense one-on-one, not a 1-on-12, because then it's just another shootout with a different type of enemy somewhere in the middle. Then the dude will teleport you to completely different rooms if you aren't careful, which is easy to dodge once you know that that green ball is that. But getting teleported away is pretty annoying too, I'm not gonna lie. Then I shot at him at least 1 billion times. Yes, billion. I'm not over-exaggerating, you are. I realized the dude for some reason won't die. There I was using all my powerful ammo, but nothing seemed to change. So what gives? What was I doing wrong? Well, apparently the orange triangles on the side heal him, and they have to be destroyed before you can go all out on him. I feel like that could have been easily messaged to the player if there were volts constantly going from the triangle to him, because to me, it just looks like a design in the world. Alien lighting, I guess. I mean, it does literally light the surrounding area. It just doesn't register to me that's what they were trying to say. You got a massive enemy in the middle, enemies around you, but I gotta shoot the small triangles on the wall? I guess. Not only that, but the triangles take a while to destroy even with the most powerful weapons, so why would you keep shooting if nothing happens? What I did made this frustrating fight into a cakewalk though. There are these large spikes to hide behind and take cover, and I did exactly that. I hid behind a single one, shot at all the triangles, and then just unloaded all my ammo of everything on the bastard's big head from cover. Then his head opens up, and I just kept shooting from behind cover. Boom, 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 until the giant fetus explodes in an absolutely epic way. Seriously, just hiding behind the spike made that fight go from frustrating to, was I supposed to do that? Do the developers think someone would just hide behind a spike? I mean, literally none of the attacks can hit you when hiding, not even the teleporter, so why would you not do that, right? But also it just makes it underwhelming because you don't really see him. But I guess that's better than being annoyed? I don't really know. Then Gordon Freeman is teleported with this mysterious man in a suit. The world knows him as G-Man, but in the game, a name just isn't stated. He tells Gordon he's done well, and that Zen is now under their control for now. He has taken his weapons as they are government property. He then tells him this.
I have recommended your services to my employers, and they have authorized me to offer you a job. They agree with me that you have limitless potential.
Then you are given a choice. Take the teleporter and accept this supposed job, or decline and face a fight that Gordon can't win. It's 2 separate endings. Declining it takes you to an area filled with alien grunts, weaponless, with the text appearing saying, Subject Freeman, status observation terminated. Postmortem, subject declined offer of employment. Then the credits roll. However, if you accept, G-Man says,
Wisely done, Mr. Freeman. I will see you up ahead.
Then the text says, hired, awaiting assignment. Then the credits roll with some jamming ass music. Can't say I expected that song, but it was cool. Then it's just darkness. You'd think it would go back to the main menu, but instead you just gotta exit out. It's funny because if you press the spacebar, you can still hear Gordon jumping as if his character model is just off screen, which he probably is. It's a pretty cool ending that leaves you with some pretty big questions. I don't know if any are answered in Half-Life 2. I suppose I'll just have to find out one day. That was Half-Life. What a goddamn awesome game. I really didn't care too much about the few chapters in Zen. I don't dislike it, it's just frustrating. However, everything before is first-person shooter gold. The atmosphere, the level design, the enemy types, the weapons, it's all fantastic. I really wish it stuck the landing at the end for me, but it just doesn't. But a game as good and well designed as this, I can deal with Zen. Overall, I'm going to give Half-Life A. Ocarina of Time, Metal Gear Solid, and Half-Life came out in the same year. 1998 was not playing. Out of 10. What a fantastic game. Half-Life truly felt like a world with its impressive level and environment design. It is definitely up there on my favorite first-person shooter list. It will definitely be interesting to play Half-Life 2 and see how they improve or tweak the formula a bit. I'd also like to go and play Black Mesa, a remake of Half-Life, not actually made by Valve, but apparently it's so damn good that Valve themselves approved it for a commercial release, which is insane. A mod turned into an official release. Damn. Apparently they improved Zen, which I'm very curious as to how. Regardless, it was a great journey with Gordon Freeman, and it's one that I'd highly recommend to any shooter fan. That'd be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Share these around as these take so long to make. Have you played Half-Life? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time. Half-Life was an impressive atmospheric shooter, but it is officially out of the backlog.
I told you Half-Life would be good.
Bro, first of all, we never had a debate that it wasn't going to be a good game. I never said that.
Man, get out of here. Look, I told you so.
Why? Why you gotta be like this?
Alright, so our next game, next month, is VeggieTales, Harry Boy, and the Bad Apple.
Yeah. About that, it's not.
What? What could be more important than finally getting to Larry Boy and the Bad Apple?
Well, it's not about importance, it's just... not yet. Almost. Maybe. Perhaps. Maybe not. Maybe. I don't know. It's not next game.
Okay. Okay, alright.
Sorry, man. I know you're excited about that. I am too. Just, we already started playing, well, this.